Yeah, it's not that I didn't love her. It's just that I didn't feel that connection with her. And
Did that grow over time?
No.
No?
It took 4 years.
Right.
It was 4 years, and I can remember the day.
Yeah.
The first day I ever thought of her. Oh, she's looking so cute.
Yeah.
That was the first day, and it was her fifth birthday.
Right.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
Honey, you're my sugar.
We often say on this podcast how important it is to share your story. And today's guest, Kay, had that exact message. She's written a book all about her life. And she's overcome so many things, hasn't she?
And she really has. And she's overcome them, but also found her strength in her faith. And she's also found a lot of resilience, which has grown throughout her journey.
Yeah, so we talk about things like postnatal depression. She's also suffered a stroke. She's had many things that she's overcome. And really sharing her story has brought great healing to her in those moments. So check us out and stay with us.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows our mystery guest and the other doesn't. And today, Beck, it's your turn
Yes, it is.
to discover the gold in our special guest, Kay Macklin.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
So I've got 3 things for you, and I might throw an extra one in there as well, just because I'm being kind today.
Nice.
So Kay has suffered a stroke, and she's overcome that in her life. She's also suffered with postnatal depression, which I'm sure is going to be a really interesting one to delve into. You're going to be able to tell straight away that she loves the colour purple.
Yes.
And the 4th one is right up your street. She's an author.
Beautiful. I'm glad you threw that one in, Ange.
So that one was for free.
Oh, thanks.
So let's see where we can go with this interview.
Awesome.
Let's come on in, Kay.
Welcome to the show, Kay.
Welcome. Woohoo! So welcome, Kay. It's so nice to have a bit of colour in the studio.
Yes, these colours are looking great with our back screen and everything.
Good.
Yes, so Kay's joined us with a nice bright purple hat.
So obviously purple is your favourite colour.
It is, yes.
Yes.
Always been a purple girl. I actually looked back the other day in a box, and my wedding invitations 40 years ago were purple.
Oh my goodness. When do you think this purple thing started for you?
Well, I think that's when it was.
Oh, for your wedding?
Yeah.
Did you get married in purple?
No,
Were the bridesmaids purple?
No, they were green.
The invitations were?
invitations were purple.
Well, purple and green goes nice together.
And is the hair purple as well?
It has a tinge.
Yes.
Yes, very
Poking under the
nice.
hat there.
Yes, a nice subtle tinge there.
Yes.
Well, purple's a great colour. So it's lovely to meet you, Kay.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on our show today.
Yes.
So Angela's given me a few points that we can delve into. But first of all, I'd like to know, have you lived on the Sunshine Coast your whole life, or where have you come from?
No, I came from Brisbane. I arrived here 8 years ago.
Right.
No, it was 10 years. I came in 2015, so 8 years ago, yes. And, yes, I moved up here for my retirement, I thought.
Right.
And
That sounds interesting.
Yes.
Retirement, you thought. Okay. So what happened?
a month later, I had my stroke.
Oh, right. Okay. So let's come back to your stroke. Let's go back earlier into your life. Where did you come from?
Well, in Brisbane, I worked. I went back to school when I was 40,
Yeah.
and I did my years 11 and 12.
Right.
And I then went on to university, and I did a Bachelor of Human Services,
Right.
majoring
Good on
in
you.
disabilities, which was my passion,
Yeah.
and worked in a disability employment service for several yees, and then I became ill and had to give up work, and took some time off and took a lighter job and did some reception work, and then
Was that illness to do with the stroke, or was it prior to
was,
that?
It was before the stroke. It was hypothyroidism. I have Hashimoto,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
and then also I became really ill and I wasn't able to do a whole day's work.
That must have been quite an interruption for you, having gone back to school in your 40s,
I know.
accomplished your grade 12, which is amazing. Like, good on you for going back and doing that.
yeah.
And then going to uni. Well done to you.
Yeah.
And beginning work in the field that you'd studied and then to become sick.
Yeah.
So that must have been quite devastating.
It was hard, and then, you know, I had a really difficult time through after that, and my marriage broke up, and yeah, things just didn't work out well with my life, and
So you mentioned something about postnatal depression.
Yeah.
Was that happening through that time as well?
no, that was before I went back to school.
Right. So you got married, obviously.
Yeah,
And
had 3 girls.
yes.
And,
lovely.
And yeah, so I had a postnatal depression with my third child.
Okay.
First 2, I was perfectly fine.
Right.
And I'd never said the word depressed ever in my life.
Right.
And
And then the third
in
one.
my time, in those days, it wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
Postnatal depression just was not talked about.
How did you know you had it? What was the signs?
Well, I knew things were different. I didn't have connection with my little girl. I just did not have any connection. And I had to wean her when she was 3 months old because I had a lot of pain with my breastfeeding, and I just didn't have any connection.
Was there anyone at the time that you were able to talk to about what was going on?
I didn't tell anybody.
Right.
Didn't tell anybody.
Did anyone notice
No.
behaviours?
My mother-in-law used to say to me, "She's a good girl. She's a good little girl," but yeah, it was really hard, and I don't recall her first year of life.
Right.
It's like a blur.
Right. So how did you walk through that time? Did
Well-
you find steps to recover from that?
After about a year, first year, my husband said to me, "I think you need to go and see a therapist." So I went to the GP and she referred me on to a psychiatrist and put me on antidepressants, and but they did nothing. Nothing changed. I was just, it wasn't that I was crying with the depression. I was just exhausted and sad. It was like a veil down over me, and yeah, it was.
Did
just,
they diagnose it at that point or just sent you for therapy?
No.
No, they didn't know what it was. No.
They postnatal depression was never spoken about, never mentioned.
So how old is your daughter now? So how long are we talking?
40 years ago,
Wow. Yeah.
it was just not spoken about.
So in the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was not.
How did your elder children react? Did they feel the effects of that during that
I'm sure.
time?
Well, they were sort of required to be mum. a lot.
Right, they stepped in.
They would nurse her while I was getting lunches and things,
Yeah.
and they would do a lot of stuff for me. They would play with her,
Right.
and because when she cried, I didn't feel that connection to pick her up,
Right.
and
It's quite severe then. Yeah, right.
I have a family member, and also I've had some experience with this myself. I know what you're describing is absolutely true. Like the connection can take a bit of time,
just wasn't there.
or someone's reaction is like for someone that I know, they just kind of really shut down. For in particular that first year that you talk about, and they just shut down and couldn't handle or really struggled to cope. But for them, it had been triggered by long kind of infertility issues. Do you know what the trigger may have been for it on this particular
No one
one?
has been able to help me with that. It was just my psychologist that I talk to now. She said maybe it was a grief thing. That I really wanted a boy. I had 2 girls, and I just had this image in my mind that I would have 2 boys, and the pregnancy was totally different, and everybody kept saying, it's going to be a boy, it'll be a boy. The pregnancy was different. The labour was different. Everything was different. And I was sure it was going to be a boy, and I wanted to name him Tim, after my dad. And, you know, when I had her, I thought, oh, well, it's a girl. I'll love her. And it's not that I didn't love her. It's just that I didn't feel that connection with her. And
Did that grow over time?
No.
No?
It took 4 years.
Right.
It was 4 years, and I can remember the day.
Yeah.
The first day I ever thought of her. Oh, she's looking so cute.
Yeah.
That was the first day, and that was her fifth birthday.
Right.
Yeah.
And from then on, how did that look like for you?
Perfect.
Right.
It was wonderful.
So you stepped into that motherhood role with her.
But the thing was, I saw a counsellor, Christian counsellor, and she said, Kay, you need some time out by yourself. And so I told my husband I needed some time out, and he didn't understand why. So anyway, I took time, 4 days, and I went away, and I just surrendered. I surrendered to God. I said, I can't do this anymore. I was almost suicidal. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I give it all to you. And that weekend I just prayed, and I sang, and I listened to music, and I swam in the pool, and I journaled, and I finally prayed, Lord, why did you give me this mental illness? And I had this response, so that you can help others travelling in the same path. Share your story.
Sounds like that 4 days was a real turning point for you.
It was.
And that was around the time of your daughter's 5th birthday? Right.
I went home and I picked her up from preschool that day, and the preschool teachers were being very negative about her.
Oh, right.
And they said, we've had a child psychologist out assessing Angela, and we believe that they believe she has a bad self-image, because when she draws herself, the arms and legs don't touch the body.
Right.
And I said, that's rubbish. And I took her hand, and we walked away from that preschool and never went back.
Right.
First time I ever wanted to be her champion.
Right.
And my postnatal depression was healed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And that night I went home and I talked to my husband. I said, we need to have some major changes. And I said, I need to have a change. I need to get out of this feeling of depression. And I think it's this house, living in this house is making me sad with all the memories. And he said, well, let's move. So we did.
Wow.
And it was a time when there was interest rates were 14%.
Right.
And we sold our house and bought another one at Ferny Grove, which was a place where lots of my friends lived. And, yeah.
Started a new life?
Yep.
Yes.
And we found a place walking distance to the school, and the 3 girls went to the same school.
Beautiful.
So Angela started school, and the 3 girls went to the same school.
Things got better from
That was
there?
amazing, yeah. So,
That's great.
and that's when I went back to school.
And how did that relationship then improve with Angela?
It was much better. It was much better. I coped with her, and I felt love for her, and yeah, but there's always been sort of a bit of a block. bit of a block for me, because I sort of, it's almost a guilt that I feel.
Have you been able to talk to Angela about what happened?
And she has told me that she never felt unloved.
Oh, that's...
So that's lovely. But she's a kid that, we look back at now and sort of feel that she has ADHD. So
there's a lot of turmoil that people go through within themselves that I guess they don't know how to communicate with others, do they? And that's what you've gone through.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've referred to helping other people with mental illness. Now, is part of that trying to pull out their conversations, trying to get them to talk to other people?
Yeah, trying to get people to share their story. That's one of my main things that I'm striving for. I push people to share their story.
Yeah. And
Postnatal depression is so much taboo around that topic, even today.
Yeah.
I had my son 21 years ago, and I went through it as well. I didn't have the same experience as you. There wasn't disconnect with my child, but I was very, I wasn't handling being a parent very well. I just thought everyone was watching me. Everybody was judging how I was treating my child and that. And I felt very insecure and just unsure of what I was doing. And it sent me into this bit of a spiral, really.
Yeah.
And there's so many challenges around new mums. And obviously this was your third time round.
And see, the first two, it was just was so natural for me. And I thought, I'm such a great mum. My kids are so good, and they slept through, they'd slept well, and Angela never slept. I was up most of the night with her. And
because that can play a big role in
sleep deprived totally.
Yeah.
And so, and she was just constantly on the go, never stopped. We had one time when she was picked up off the road. She was walking up the road, and a man picked her up and brought her around, knocking on doors, saying, "Is this yours?"
Oh, wow. I bet you're grateful the right person found her.
It was so scary. My husband, he
So
built,
challenging
built,
parenting.
built fences then.
I always
so
said
we
you got to
could keep her in.
Got to keep them alive till age 4, because that's when a little bit of common sense starts setting in.
I mean, that's a long time to go through it. So you had a 5-year journey.
Yeah.
But it's because it eventually just broke.
Yeah.
Which is great, and you
It was
could have
amazing.
rebuilt from there.
Healed.
So then you've gone on to want to go back to school. So was that part of your process of healing from your postnatal depression? And then you've gone back to school and studied grade 11 and 12 to go on to study. What was the course that you studied?
Well, see, the thing was, it wasn't something that I had planned, but I was in a support group, and this girl was talking about how she was doing it, and I didn't know you could do it.
Yeah, right.
And I said to her, "Where do you go? Where do you do it?" And she said, "At Hendra." I said, "Okay." Next day I was over there. I was enrolled.
Good for you.
I didn't tell anybody in my family that I was going to do it.
Oh, wow.
You didn't waste any time, did you?
I just did it.
What were their reactions when you told
They
them
were
you're going back to
blown
school?
away. And my kids said, "Mum."
They would have been proud of you for sure, wouldn't they?
No.
No?
It's a pretty big thing to do at age 40, isn't it?
yeah.
To do your high school diploma.
Yeah, so,
Good for you.
but I breezed through it. I just loved it. I found that I love learning, gaining knowledge. I love it. I just love it. My brain loves it. Soak it up. So,
That's
I'm
great.
still
And then what did you go on to study at uni? You told me before.
Bachelor of Human Services.
Right. Now, the motivation behind that, did that come from the experience you'd had with your postnatal depression and mental?
We had moved to Logan so that our girls could take up a scholarship at a private school down in Brisbane.
Yeah.
They were offered music scholarships, and they were both music talented. And we moved to Logan, which is over the river. Now, down in Brisbane, we were Northsiders, and you don't cross the river. Northsiders don't move to the south side.
There is a bit of a divide, isn't there?
Northsiders don't go. Nobody ever visited me. So anyway, we had just moved to Logan, and then one day I heard that there was going to be a new campus of Griffith Uni opening up in Logan, and they're going to be offering Bachelor of Human Services in Disability Studies. And the light went on. I thought, that's it. That's what I want to do.
Right.
And I went down. I was first person enrolled.
Wow. Did you tell your family about that one?
Yes.
Yes.
And and there was a lot of us were mature age that did it.
Yeah.
And I just loved being at uni, on the uni campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was so many, you had such interesting discussions. And
Did you have a goal in mind in taking that course?
I thought I would get some work. I just imagined that I would get a job, work full time. I just had never been able to work full time, so the girls were getting on, and they were moving on through school. So I just had this idea that I just wanted to work in the disability field. So
your life slowed down a bit then?
I was bedridden for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then my husband and I just split up because he couldn't cope with me not doing anything. He just didn't seem to think that was a life that I should be living.
That must have been quite traumatic for you as well,
Yeah.
going through your health issues and then having a marriage breakdown.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Did you have people around you to support you during that time?
Yeah, there were friends, and so.
And how was that on your children as well?
Well, they found it difficult, and they were very, very supportive of my husband, and really didn't understand why I had to leave. But it was the fact that, I just wasn't able to cope at home. I couldn't run the household anymore, and I just felt like we had nothing left. We were home. The kids had all left home, and we had nothing left. Our marriage had been over for several years, and it was time for me to move on because I was sort of living a double life. I was, work down at when I'd been at uni and working, people were I was quite an, appreciated person, and I was well regarded. And I'd come home and I was ignored and I was invisible. And it was just,
You felt
it was like I was living two lives. And
So is that when you moved up to the Sunshine Coast? Right, okay. And then you said you had more health issues. You suffered a stroke. So did you move up here to work first and then the more health issues happened?
I didn't work. I came up and I had the stroke.
Yeah,
I had the stroke a month after I moved up here.
Wow, you've had one hit after another, haven't you? So you survived the stroke.
Yeah. There's a story about it.
Right, yes. Let's hear that story.
Well, when I came up, I had a bit of a chest infection.
Right.
So my daughter came around one day and she said, "Mum, you got to go. I'm taking down the doctors." So she rang and my doctor wasn't available. So she got me into another doctor, and he checked my chest and didn't like the sound of it. And so he said, "Now I want you to go up and see a specialist up at the hospital." And he rang him and he said, "He will fit you in, but he's leaving in half an hour. So you need to go straight up. You can't go home. You have to go straight up to the hospital." So that's what we did. We went straight in to see him, and he said, right, we're going to admit you. So they took me into my room. I was on my bed, and so Melanie said, I'm going to go home and get you what you need for hospital, Mum. While she was away, I had my stroke. Mm-hmm. I was on the bed. I had no idea anything had to happen. Mm. And she came back and...
Did someone notice that you were having a stroke?
There was no nurses around. Mm. Melanie came back and she said, Mum, your face is looking a bit weird, because it was droopy. Mm. And then she asked me if they'd give me any tranquilizers. And I said, no, they gave me nothing. And she said, you're talking very slurry, Mum. She said, I'm getting help. So she ran down the hallway, and 5 doctors came running. Melanie got shoved into the back, and they were saying, kick me, Kay. And I couldn't move my arm or my leg. I didn't even know. Mm. And I was paralysed down my left side. And so then all hell broke loose. They were trying to... So I had to go down and I had a CAT scan, and they realised that I had a stroke. But the stroke ward at the time was up at Nambour Hospital. So we had the ambulance ride up to Nambour. Yeah. With the sirens running, with Melanie following the ambulance.
Must have been quite frightening for you all. And being...
I don't remember much.
No.
I don't remember much. All I remember was being in the ambulance and everybody moving fast. It felt like they were running, but you couldn't run in an ambulance.
Yeah.
But I got up there, and I don't remember getting there. And the next day, I remember I woke up and the 2 girls were there, and they said, Angie's on her way. This is my youngest. Mm. And I thought, oh, how nice the 3 girls will be together.
Yeah.
Without really realising that I could have passed away the night before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's recovery look like from that?
It was amazing. I moved my fingers in 2 days, and I was up walking in a week.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yep.
And you don't seem to have any signs of droopy face or anything, so you seem to have fully recovered from that.
I still have some nerve pain down my arm and leg, but you cope with that, you live with that. Mm. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, Kay, I've noticed that you're wearing a shirt today that says Lifted Up Women's Movement.
Yeah.
And your hat, is that part of this movement, that uniform that you're wearing, or?
This is my business.
Right. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. Well, that came from my book, because my book is Lifted Up by Angels.
Beautiful.
That came from my weekend away.
Right.
When I was lifted up by angels, because there was angels all around me that weekend.
Right.
And that's when God said, share your story. And I didn't know how I was going to share my story. Yeah. But 30 years later, I wrote my book.
Beautiful.
So my lifted up movement came, and I thought, well, I can share use my book to have some streams of income around my book. So I'm going to start up some online courses, and I've got I do some blogs, and I did a few podcasts.
Yeah, nice.
But
so is this a fairly new thing for you?
Yeah, it's all starting up. I've been working on it for 2 years. Yeah. But I also do women's circles. Yeah. And I love doing them, just sitting in a circle and doing meditations and
I love when people have been through things and they turn it around for good to help the community around them. Yeah. And that looks like what you've done right here.
That's exactly right. That's why I want to do. Share what I've learned for good. Make it for good.
And so what would be some of those things that you've learned? What is some of the advice you give others?
Love yourself. Love yourself. Have some self-love. And in my women's circles, we do the self-love and take time for yourself. Like I walk on the river a lot and I have hobbies. Like I got to have fun. So I play the djembe drum.
Oh, yes.
You play the...
Djembe drum.
Ah.
There's my djembe drum. There she is.
Ah, yes.
I go play in a circle, and it's a circle of some people are older, some people have disabilities, some people are young, and we all get into, and there's about 40 of us, and we all play the drum, and it is so fun, so much fun.
I've heard a lot about drum therapy. My son's a drummer. Beck's husband's a drummer. So drumming's in our family, and I've heard a lot about that.
It's
so
just
what's the benefit of that? What does it do?
It's just rhythm. It's rhythm. And we have the guy has a song, plays a song, and he starts playing, and we just play along.
Okay, I think I need to see a demonstration of how this drum circle works. Do you want to lead us in one for a moment? Right, left. right.
Double-decker bus.
Double-decker bus.
Oh,
double-decker bus.
What are we doing now?
Right, left. Right.
Double-decker bus.
Double-decker bus.
So what do you do for right, left? Just right.
And then we do lasagna.
Lasagna.
That's
Lasagna.
it. Lasagna.
What about
Double-decker bus.
Double-decker bus.
We will rock you.
That's what we do.
Double-decker bus.
I agree.
Double-decker
This is
bus. Lasagna.
Perfect.
And we will rock you.
I'm interested to know, what was your book about? Like, is it your whole life story?
Well, I did put my first chapter was my early years, and it was about my dad passing away when I was young, and he died when I was 16, and so I had lots of times when I was alone, and but he died when I was 16, and then I met the guy I married when I was 3 months afterwards.
Yeah.
And I never really had time to grow up. And so then I had it included a bit about my marriage, and then then it came into my postnatal depression, and how I my spirituality, and it includes how God's been through my life all the way. And I did up a bucket list after I came out of hospital, and that's amazing. But one of the main things was my cousin and I, we decided we were going to do a family gathering, because the Macklin family is quite large. There were 8 siblings, and my dad had passed away, and his 4 brothers had passed away, but the girls were all alive. Oh no, one younger brother was still there. So we decided if we got 20 to come, we would do it. So we had the family gathering, and we ended up having 89 come.
Wow.
From here, there and everywhere, New Zealand, Melbourne, Cooktown.
Wow.
And we just had the best day with all the family gathering together. We had oldies from 89 down to 1.
Wow, sounds like a big family.
Wonderful day. Yeah, so...
Well, I think it's about time for gold, Beck.
I think it is. Well, Kay, it's been so lovely having you on the show today and listening to your story. And the title of your book, Lifted Up by Angels, pretty much sums up your life, doesn't it? So you've had many, many hits. You've had many challenges to overcome. You've had things that could have taken you out, but your faith and your relationship with God has obviously been a massive part of your life in bringing you through each stage, every knock that you've had, your faith has got you through that. And it's like you can see that you've just been lifted and carried along, not in your strength, but in God's strength, which is really such a beautiful story to share with others of when it's beyond ourselves, there is someone greater, isn't there? And also the resilience that you've built along the way. Like each knock, like I said, could have taken you out, but you've built strength through each one, haven't you?
Yes.
And it's taken you to where you are today, and probably beyond what you imagined was possible for you to accomplish in your life. For instance, going back to school at 40, that's amazing. Well done to you. And then going to uni, amazing. Writing a book, you probably never thought you'd be writing a book and sharing your story. And there is power in writing a book, isn't there? Because then that opens the doors to take you into other areas of life, like public speaking. Double-decker buses. So you really have had a life of overcoming and being carried, and you've got a wonderful testimony, and I thank you for sharing it with us today, and I know you're going to bless many people along the way with your story.
I think there was one thing you said at the end there that lifted up by angels, that your story is that you said you realised you had the ability to love. I think that's such a powerful thing, that maybe some people do doubt whether they have the capacity or the ability to love someone else, particularly if they've been hurt or wounded by someone. And so I really love the fact that you pulled that out, because we all do have the ability to love, even those that, you know, may have hurt us. And I think that's a really beautiful and powerful message to share. So thanks for sharing that, Kay.
Thanks so much for coming in today, Kay. It's been a pleasure having you.
Good.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a poem. Honey, you're my sugar.